2020 saw the rise of so many voices that would shape the future of Nigeria. These young people use all they have, risk their lives, disburse their funds, pulled around each other, and use their platform to demand from the government and rally around for causes that would, in their own opinions, birth a new Nigeria. At the Young and Emerging Leaders Symposium, we quiz the present state of citizen activism and social movements in Nigeria. What have been the visible effects of the Nigerian government? How can citizen activism and social movements further improve good governance in Nigeria? How can the Future of Information Act be adopted to keep the government on its toes? On this Robin Mind special of the Young and Emerging Leaders Symposium, in partnership with the Future Project, Ebuka speaks with Tacha Akide, Aisha Yusufu, Deba Mr. Macaroni, Reno Odwala, and DJ Switch.
Welcome back to this Robin Mind special, and we're going to be talking about safe spaces for young people, voices, and of course social activism. If you're just joining us, here's the Robin Mind special, and we're focusing on the Future Project Symposium. We're joined now by a couple of special guests. We also have a virtual audience besides the audience here with us. Speaking of our panelists here today, first of all, I'd like to introduce Tacha Akide, who's here with us. Thanks for being here. Once again, thanks for always coming back. And of course, virtually, we're joined by Aisha Yusufu, Mr. Macaroni, DJ Switch, and Reno Duola. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. Okay, let me come to you, Aisha. The federal government, I think we saw a headline recently saying that every Nigerian is owing, it's 217,000 naira each. I don't know if you have any plans to start repaying yours before it increases, but when you hear things like that, do you still have any hope for the future with young people in this country?
Thank you so much, for having me here. When I first heard that, the first thing that came to my mind was, okay, can I just pay my bill? But then the sad reality is that there are a lot of people who all throughout their lifetime, they would never see that amount. And that is where we must always look at issues when we are thinking about government. Not just the way it affects us, but the way it affects a lot of people who are not privileged. So at every time, we must think about that. And one of the things that I would say right now is the fact that, first of all, I'm not youth. I'm almost 50, so definitely. But if you're talking about safe space for youth, the safe space must come from our houses. Parents must understand that their children, even when as young as 1, 2, that have a voice and they have a right to their voice. They must be listened to. I've said it several times, and I'm going to repeat it here again. The first of dictators that Nigerians came across were actually parents. So because they were used to their voice being shut down, that's the reason why as adults, they have replaced their parents with government and see nothing wrong in their voices being shut down. At the end of the day, like I always say, we are citizens, we are not slaves, and we should look at this and know that not whatever decision that the government is making, it affects all of us, because the borrowing that is happening is going to be paid by us and also going to be paid by Nigerians that are not yet born. Let us always think about that. Thank you.
All right, let me come to you, Mr. Macaroni. We're talking about safe spaces here, and we saw what happened in October. You were very actively involved with that, with the protests, the NSAS protests. There was a lot of sort of evidence that people believed came off of social media. Then we've now seen the train has gone on now to a Twitter ban or a temporary suspension, like the government called it. A lot of young people had always thought that, social media was one of those safe spaces. It's beginning to look like it might not be. What are your thoughts on that, and how do we come out of this? Because the Twitter suspension, for example, seemed like it would be like a joke. A day or two would be out of it. We're over a month down the line now, going on 2 months, and nothing seems to be done or being said about it being lifted anytime soon.
So, from the protest then to where we are now, Twitter ban, we are dealing with a government that has refused to understand the plight of the people. So rather than understand the pains of the people and what people are going through, the government is quick to react instead of responding. And that's why I always think they have an issue. You know, people complain about things, we say this is what we're going through, and your next line of action would be to ban the tool by which they are using to complain, because one way or the other, the government feels people are insulting them. I always say something. The government works for the people. That's why you're there. You're not there as a lord. This is not the system of say, king, the ruler, anything we are talking. No, in our system of law we did. So the government is working for we the people. As a matter of fact, now we be the organ for this whole equation. It has to be a matter of, I say I'm going through something like this. I say I'm not happy with this educational system, insecurity issues, this and that. I expect that the government listens to what I'm saying and take measures to curtail whatever situation is. So we are dealing with and okay, let's also look at the number of social media users that we have in Nigeria, and the numbers of Nigerians that are benefiting positively. They are benefiting from social media. Of course, like me, I'm benefiting from social media, and a lot of Nigerians out there. A government that is thinking about the progression of her people will not say that you want to take away the means of livelihood of some people because you feel insulted. It shows that we are dealing with a government that cares less about what the people think and will only continue to do like this. So I believe before, and I'm saying it again, that what we can do to help ourselves. Number one, we must never get tired of lending our voices. Is whether they like it or not. People like me, the voice and the platform where I get to, now I go to use to call public office holders to account. So while we are holding them accountable, while we are speaking up, we must also know that now the age of say the votes no they count. This one you don't pass. The energy that we built during NSAS, that energy, that unity, that loud movement where we have to convert it into numbers now. Say, okay, yes, so we want to let our own vote count. We want to have a voice. That kind of force from NSAS, we not be convert them into politics, into votes, when we not see results.
Very well said. Tasha, let me come to you now. And something he touched on, because, like I said, October happened, the NSAS protest happened, it ended the way it ended, very, very sadly. There's a lot of people who are almost disillusioned. You know, they feel like, protests, do they really work? What's the point of all of this even? You know, we're just going to keep talking, the government doesn't listen. If after what happened in October, we're still talking about the Twitter ban just a few months later, you know, do you think protests work in Nigeria? And how do you tell someone who says there's no point to all of this to keep going?
Well, yes, I 100% believe that protests work. Because, I mean, if protests do not work, why does the government keep doing too much in trying to disrupt us? I mean, we try to gather, you'd see heavy security agents on ground, intimidating people and making people scared. Protests actually do work. I mean, this is not the time where we have to just keep quiet and say, okay, well, because the NSAS movement did not exactly do what we needed it to do, doesn't mean we should just keep calm and stay at home. We need to keep demanding for accountability from the government. We need to keep asking questions. We need to keep making demands. We need to keep letting them know that Nigeria is not a failed state, but so far so good, Nigeria has not preached or delivered democracy to the people. So we have to keep demanding. And yes, I 100% really think protests actually do work.
Thank you very much for that. Reno, you have been quite persistent, you know, with what you believe in with regards to what government should be doing. Even when it looked like all hope was lost, you still kept speaking up. I mean, you've gone through the rounds, you know, frozen accounts and all of that. What is a young person supposed to be thinking at this point, right? Because we still have about 2 years of this government. There's a lot of people who are not very excited with where they are now. We've talked about the unemployment numbers where they are. We're talking about almost half the young population isn't working. And as long as that is the case, there are a lot of people who are going to not be happy. But there was also a belief, like I asked Tasha, that, what can I do and how do I go about it? From a government that seems not to want to listen, or at least gives off that perception. Are there ways around it besides protesting, for example? The safe spaces we're talking about, social media was one of them, like I said, but it doesn't seem to be the government doesn't seem to give it the sort of air that we would expect it to have. What other sort of spaces are there for you?
For me, I think that a lot of young people in this country, there is a word which I can just find right now to categorize what we're feeling, which is just tired. Many of us are mentally exhausted, and there seems to be no way out. As we grow up in this country, for many of us, say 85% of us, it has always been all the best you can and just japa. And now, we're talking about safe spaces, an environment where young people can contribute or participate in economic issues, social issues, political issues, without any discrimination, without harassment, without bias, an environment for us to grow, to learn, without fear of insurgency or insecurity, a space that gives us the awareness that we have a right to our point of view, that we can confidently announce our opinions, our rights to education, that we can develop confidence and skills to speak out, to engage with government, to advocate around our own rights. Spaces where we can be comfortable in our own skin, where we won't be attacked for the things that we do or say. Now, let's talk about Nigeria, for instance. People that are advocating for rights have had to leave the country. Youths are being shot at protest ground. Social media is being gagged. What medium? Macaroni said one thing that social media is one of the last few places where people can hold government accountable, can criticize government. Let's ask ourselves, what medium do not just young people today, do Nigerians have to actually hold the government accountable? What medium can we say this is what we don't like about the policies, about what you are offering us? What ways can we actually tell the government, we think that this path that you're going down is not the right one for us? It's only through social media that we do things today. Social media is one of the last places we can actually talk. And safe spaces are about the ability to express our views on social media through digital platforms without psychological abuse, without harassment or bullying. An opportunity for us to discuss political participation. Now, the safe spaces the spaces that we have, young people in Nigeria today, are unsafe. They are inaccessible, like the Twitter ban. They are inflexible. They are draining. They don't change anything, like Thatcher said regarding the protests. We cannot walk on the streets for fear of thugs, for fear of carjackers, for fear of armed robbers. We cannot travel on the road for fear of kidnappers. There are no jobs for young people because the system has failed to provide none. We can't even access good healthcare because doctors are being old, but our presidents can get premium healthcare from London and from other Western countries. Like I said, we can't even go to school. Our educational spaces are not safe for fear of kidnappers, anybody may threaten strike at any time. So the condition that we are in today is being exhausted. Young people moved from participating in traditional institutions of politics to, okay, let us just participate, let us engage in participatory politics. Social media discuss, at least there we can feel safe. How many young people voted last elections? It's because young people do not feel safe to go out there anymore to vote. We have lost hope in what should give us succor. I said it, we're talking on, was it Robbie Mines last time? I said, being Nigerian alone should give us free access to mental health support because we need it. The only people our government is capable of attacking as young people. While we are patting real criminals on the back. Just last year, like you asked, when young people decided to use a medium to express their pains, their worries, their agony of being victims of police brutality. Were we not shot and killed during protests last year? Are young people not still dying daily at the hands of police brutality, even after the NSAS protest ended? Examples of safe spaces. Are young people adequately prepared for the changing world, especially young Nigerians? Very modern, often we are disempowered when it comes to making decisions and difference in our communities. Is our environment encouraging us to be active community citizens? In fact, if you ask 85% of us believe that our government doesn't care about our opinions. So as a result, we're unaware of fundamental rights, fundamental responsibilities. Now, what you asked me, to the question you asked me, what other spaces are available for young people? Now, for me, I think we have two kinds of spaces: physical spaces and digital spaces, where we can freely express our views and pursue our dreams. Now, when we talk about physical spaces, like I said earlier, are our schools safe? Do we have safe jobs, high quality jobs? Are our roads safe? Are our farms safe? Are our homes safe? We are not even safe on our own street. Physical spaces are no longer safe. Digital spaces are no longer safe. What safe spaces are available for young people in Nigeria today? How can we fully contribute to our community when we are being threatened both online and offline? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. DJ Switch, my question to you apparently, I think, is linked with, I'd asked Tasha, what if protests work? Now, leading from Reno's point, I want to ask you, do social media protests work? I just saw a comment pop up from one of our online audience members saying that social media activists are also a part of the problem. I couldn't see the rest of the comment, but I'm sure you hear things like that, where you say, like Reno said, keypad warriors. Are those things effective? I mean, you played a huge part in the way the NSAS protest sort of was viewed around the world eventually, and it happened online or on social media. Do you feel like it was worth it eventually? And is social media still a viable way of speaking truth to power in a country like Nigeria?
Thank you, Abel, for having me here, and shout out to everyone on here. The full short answer is yes, it works. I mean, you can see the actions the government is taking on social media, right? Just this morning, I saw a clip of some people who went to submit a petition requesting that the government ban Facebook. It was so exhausting to look at. I didn't even watch the entire thing. But the short answer is yes, because of social media, like you said, the world heard our story, okay? And because of that social media, in fact, because of technology as a whole, you and I we're all having this conversation because of technology. It's important that we continue to speak using these types of medium. But now, it's not so easy to just come to Lekki Tollgate and shoot people when you're online. So what they are trying to do is shut down these platforms so that you can't speak or track you. I mean, I'm a bit like confused how they do it and how they utilize resources that they can use for something else. These people can track you to your home, right? Because of a Facebook post, because of a Twitter message. They can track you to your house. So the short answer is yes. And with regards to protest, it's very, very important. Look, I always say this, right? If you go back in history, you look at the Martin Luther Kings, the Nelson Mandela, even the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Buhari, he has protested before. This is an effective way to voice out frustrations, an effective way to voice out everything that you need, you want to say to your government. It's such an effective way, right? And these people have used it in the past. Unfortunately, the one we have here, right, used it for his own benefit. And now that he's in power, he's shutting down future leaders from actually expressing themselves while actively trying to do that online. So the short answer is yes. If not, they wouldn't have been, I mean, if it's not effective, they wouldn't be bothering about it. They wouldn't want to shut down protests. They wouldn't want to try to gag people. They wouldn't try to gag social media. So yes, it works.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Macaroni, you went through something quite traumatic for a lot of people. We saw the videos of you being arrested, you were kept in police custody, you were beaten up. Simple question, what keeps someone like you going? Because for a lot of people, that happens to them, like Reno said, it's time to jackpot because it's like, there's nothing here for me anymore. You know, but you're still actively involved in, activism. And you're a young person. What is different about how you see things that maybe other young people should see with regards to, trying to speak up and continue to hold government accountable?
This is a Robin Mind special of the Young and Emerging Leaders Symposium in collaboration with the Future Project. This conversation continues next week.